What's up, everybody, and welcome to the first official edition of Uncontrolled Narrative with Dan Z. I am, of course, Dan Z with OutKick, and we're not always going to cover the most serious topics on this show, but today we are. I've been covering trans athletes in women's sports for pretty much 2 years now at OutKick, and it's something that I'm incredibly passionate about. And something that I really never thought I would be passionate about, or something I really ever thought I would need to cover. I mean, who the hell ever thought we would have men competing in women's sports and some people arguing, hey, that's a good thing, that's progress. The Supreme Court earlier on Tuesday heard oral arguments in 2 cases involving trans-identifying biological male athletes who want to be able to compete in girls and women's sports. The goal from the plaintiffs, obviously, is to argue that, hey, they're just boys who want to play girls' sports. What's the big deal? And of course, the defense wants it banned. They want the courts to recognize that Title IX protects girls, it protects women, and it protects their sports and their private spaces. But of course, we have to define sex and, what is a woman? I don't know. Apparently no one knows anymore. But we do, because we live in the common sense world here at OutKick. And common sense tells us what it should tell everyone, and what it does tell most people, which is that males do not belong in women and girls sports. So I was at the Supreme Court this morning out front. There were 2 rallies going on. One had the radical pro-trans activists, and the other had the very pro-woman crowd. Initial observations, the pro-trans crowd was very loud. In fact, it seemed like part of their strategy was to try and drown out the pro-woman crowd, which was pretty much a bunch of speakers explaining fairness, reality, common sense, biology, while the pro-trans crowd screamed, played music, yelled about love and inclusion and acceptance. And one thing I really found interesting was that almost every speaker that I heard on the trans side had to identify themselves to start as being black, gay, trans, Jewish, Asian. There was a lot of, as a black transgender woman and that, whereas everyone on the pro-woman side simply said, look, I'm here because I want to protect myself, my daughters. The men who spoke, which we're going to get to in a moment, were extremely powerful, talking about how they wanted to protect their daughters. And one guy that I had a chance to speak with, and I was actually honored that he took the time, was former Auburn head coach Bruce Pearl. Now, Pearl has become a staunch supporter of many political topics since he left his post as the Auburn head coach, and even a bit before then. One of those topics is protecting women's sports. I can't thank Bruce enough for taking some time to speak with me.
Here with Coach Pearl. Coach Pearl, why did you decide to come out here today?
Well, I want to know why Dockich isn't out here. Why is Clay Travis not here? Where are my guys? I get asked all the time, now that I'm not coaching, what am I doing? I love coaching. I love coaching kids. I love coaching basketball. And I'm proud of my son because he's coaching our basketball team, doing a great job. I like trying to coach America. Faith, family, conservative values, America first, not America only. I got a little bit more time for it. As you know, I'm a huge defender and advocate for the state of Israel, my Jewish ancestral homeland. And women in sports. It's done so much, Title IX, to help women in our country. The leadership, it's changed our college campuses, provided so much diversity, but it's just wrong having boys and girls sports. It's just wrong. I don't want that for my daughters. I don't want that for my granddaughters. And so, you know what? There's a loud minority and a silent majority. And I think given the opportunity to come to DC and be here, part of me also is, I work with Pat Summitt. Pat can't be here. Pat was a champion for women's athletics and a champion for women's sports. And I know she would not want boys playing against the girls. Pat had a chance to coach if she wanted to, even in the NBA or in college men's teams. She didn't feel like she needed to validate herself as a great coach. And so, sort of on her behalf, I'm here for women's sports.
Isn't Coach Pearl just the best? And yeah, where were you, Dockich? Where were you, Clay Travis? Where are you guys? We need you here. We need you on the front lines in DC. Yeah, huge thanks to Bruce Pearl for joining. And he certainly wasn't the only one on the pro-woman side. There were a lot of voices that many of you probably are familiar with. Riley Gaines, Sage Steele, Sam Ponder, Jennifer Say. I could go on, but what I really wanted to do was actually speak to people sort of, a little bit less in the public spotlight. And what I really found most interesting about it is that the pro-woman crowd was very diverse. And I don't mean that in the sense the way the left likes to use diverse, as in just skin color or gender or sexual orientation, but just it was a very diverse group from different points of view who all agree on just this one topic, which is that males don't belong in women's sports. The first woman I talked to said, look, I am a liberal woman. I am a Democrat voter, but I am here because I think that the far left has lost its way.
You said you're a liberal.
Yes.
But you do not believe that biological males should compete in women's sports.
No, I really don't. If you're a biological male and you're trans identified, that's fine. Go live your life. I do not care. But there are very, very clear biological, physical advantages that boys and men have against women when it comes to women's sports. And most people are not good with this. The majority of the American public is not okay with this. There are always going to be co-ed opportunities, other sorts of alternative teams, but we need girls' sports to be girls only. It needs, we need our sports to be protected. It's gone way too far.
As a self-described liberal, I would assume you speak with other liberal people.
Yeah.
Where do you think other liberals fall on this issue? Because it is painted as being...
Most people are on my side. Most people agree with me. Most of these liberals and Democrats do agree.
Where do you think the disconnect is then? Why is there such a loud group?
I think the disconnect is because, groups like Lambda Legal and the ACLU, they're making it sound like, this is sad for these kids and it's excluding the kids and it's not fair and it's sad. But I'm sorry, but girls and women have to be clearly defined, and there are very clear biological realities, and we just have to draw the line. If you open it up, there is no more category for girls.
I actually spoke to someone earlier today on the other side who said we should not segregate sports by gender. What are your thoughts on that?
It's so unfair. Have you ever been a girl playing girls' sports? Have you ever been a girl playing co-ed sports? It's so unfair. It's unbelievable. I grew up playing sports in high school and college. I played college varsity sports. Look at how big I am. I'm 5'2". I cannot compete against male-bodied athletes. That's just not fair. I never would be able to. So, even girls who are, very large in stature will still be overpowered by male-bodied athletes. It's just so obvious. Can we just put this to bed, please?
Now, before you think that all I did was spend my time over on the pro-woman side because those are the people who agree with me and that's where, of course they're going to say what you want them to say. Fear not. I took a trek over to the trans side. I wanted to hear what the pro-trans activists had to say about this issue, just like I wanted to hear what everyone has to say on this issue. I'm going to almost certainly disagree with what they have to say, but I'm certainly willing to listen to an argument. And the first person I came across, and I'm sorry for laughing, but I can't help it, was a person. I'm not sure how the person identifies, but to me it appeared to be a man who was trying to appear as though he was a woman, with a giant transgender flag and the Statue of Liberty's crown for some reason. I don't know. I saw the man practicing his speech to another pro-trans activist and writing it down on his phone. So I thought it'd be interesting. I went up to him and I literally just said, hey, I see you practicing your speech. I see you writing it down. Why don't you tell me your speech?
I heard you practicing your speech. You want to give it?
Sure. What organization are you part of?
OutKick.
Okay, let me just get... Next time you say trans people are a threat to women, remember this. Are trans people trying to take away your reproductive rights? Are trans people denying your right to maternity leave? Are trans people trying to cut the WIC, food stamp, and Head Start programs for your children? Are trans people trying to make prenatal care more expensive? Are trans people forcing rape victims and children to carry their baby? Are trans people denying lesbians the right to get married or adopt or artificially inseminate? Did trans people fight against your right to vote? Did trans people deny your right to a credit card or bank account? Are trans people planning on reversing no-fault divorce laws that protect women? Are trans people planning to defund your kids' education and libraries?
Okay, but what does any of that have to do with what we're here for today? Why can't politicians focus on those issues and this one?
It has to do with the fact that many of us are demonized, and if we restrict one right, what is the limit next?
But why is playing women's sports a right?
I considered it very rude for you to interrupt me in the middle of my question. If you want me to answer a question, please let me finish it before interrupting. That was quite rude. Don't you think?
I don't. I'm doing my job, but continue if you'd like, please.
Okay. What's the problem with trans people being in sports just as regular gender people?
There's no problem. They should compete with the sex that they actually biologically align with. So males should compete in men's sports, females should compete in girls' sports, and that's the end of it. Why do you disagree with that?
Why are sports even segregated in the first place?
Okay, thank you.
And so you get to this point where you run out of arguments for why it should be allowed. And so what I noticed in this next clip you're about to watch is someone who was like, well, why are we even talking about this? Let's talk about the war. Let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about, just watch.
Can you explain why you're here?
Well, I live in the neighborhood. I'm trans, and I have the day off. And this is an important issue. These are important issues to me.
Do you think it's fair for biological males to compete in women's sports?
I think that this is an issue that's being ginned up and brought up to the top of the list of national priorities. It should not be a national priority at this point. I'm much more concerned about the pedophile in the White House than I am with trans people and women's sports. I'm more concerned about the wars that this administration is starting, more concerned about climate change and everything else. But if they're going to make an issue out of this, I'm here to voice my opinion.
Do you think males have an advantage in sports over females?
Let's talk about climate change. Let's talk about other issues.
So again, you're here.
I'm here.
So you're saying the issue's not important, but you felt it important enough to come out here.
Well, I think that this is an issue that's being ginned up. There are all sorts of ways that this administration and the conservatives in this country are targeting marginalized groups, pitting us against each other instead of focusing on more important issues. Now, in terms of whether or not trans women, I assume that's what we're talking about. Trans women should be in these sports. I mean, how many? There's only like 10 openly trans people in college athletics right now. We're talking about a tiny number of people. So no, I don't think that this should be an issue that's even on the table right now.
So you don't think women deserve their own sports, their own locker rooms, their own bathrooms?
Well, you're implying that trans women are not women, and I disagree with that.
Okay, thank you.
As much as they try to pretend and they wave their flags and they clap and they give us buzzwords like inclusion and equity, diversity, they know it. They know it's not logical. And when you don't have logic on your side, that's what you end up with. That's it for me today. I look forward to catching y'all on the next one. Take care.